Yes, I know, it's the day after Christmas or whatever, but honestly, who the fuck in their right mind would be wasting their time on one of my videos on the third most important day of the year? No, it's best to group myself in with the post-holiday sales where I belong. After all, the holidays have passed, but the time is still ripe for the most oppressed minority in America, by which of course I mean white Christians, to complain about the supposed war on Christmas and how all the libtards are ruining Western culture. Well, fuck it. No matter how ridiculous any storyline is, conservatives, like all people, will latch on to anything that paints themselves as the victim. So if there isn't already a war on Christmas, we might as well start one, right? And let's be honest, Santa's way too outdated to still be a thing. Alright, so there's plenty about Christmas to criticize, from the rampant commercialization, to its connections with myth and delusion, to its moral authoritarianism. But today we're focusing exclusively on the role of Santa Claus, specifically his mainstream fat, bearded man with red clothes depiction. But these days, there seems to be more argument about Santa's nature than there has been in the past, so let's get some things straight. First off, there's now a trend of manufactured outrage surrounding Santa's race. You see it everywhere. Storylines of people being threatened for depicting a black Santa. Now, given the historical Saint Nicholas was Greek, it's without much doubt that Santa is indeed white. But that literally does not matter. The real Santa has been dead for over 1,000 years and was basically nothing like how he's depicted today. He might as well be an entirely fictional creation. Isn't it strange how we don't really give a fuck about historical accuracy, but the moment race is brought up, then people start getting triggered? It's almost as if those people attempting to claim Santa and Jesus and all those people for their own race are racist. So, is there something wrong with even a black woman dressing up as Santa at the mall? No. Anybody of any race and kind can play anybody of anything, I don't care. But whether you're deliberately blackwashing Santa or vigorously opposing that depiction, you're just race baiting in a way that highly suggests racial essentialism. Now, onto the story itself. Santa Claus is an old fat man with a white beard and red suit who lives at the North Pole, where an invisible and undetectable but also somehow widely known factory is located. A bunch of snow elves help him make enough presents for every nice child in the world, while somehow Santa digs up enough lumps of organic coal from the Arctic wasteland for every naughty child. On the night of Christmas Eve, Santa says goodbye to Mrs. Claus, who does stuff, puts his fat ass and all those presents onto a sleigh, and off he goes into the night, pulled by 9 entire reindeer, one of which has a big frostbitten nose. Then somehow, Santa flies to the house of every child on the planet, climbs down their chimney, and leaves either a present under the Christmas tree or either a gift or a lump of coal in the stockings. Then he consumes the milk and cookies left out for him, gives a single carrot to his reindeer, and then proceeds to the next house until every single child has a gift, but all of them are tricked into believing it was their parents who placed them there. Sound about right? Alright, so let's talk about economics. We all know Santa gets paid in cookies, but how the hell is he getting his elves to do all his work? I've never seen any explanation for how he pays them or anything. It always seems like they're just fine with basking in the Christmas spirit, but let me ask you, if you spent 364 days of every year just working in a factory, how would you know that in the outside world, we actually demand compensation for our work? And do the elves have any say over the way the factory operates? If they do, you'd think they would have gone on strike for being given uniforms which can't protect anyone from the cold, right? You can bet the moment the elves try to unionize, Santa immediately throws his slaves out into the cold to freeze to death. Because here's the thing, Santa's business model is running a company town. And speaking of business, How exactly is his operation sustainable? We know he's got a monopoly on the free gifts market and his labor force is seemingly free, but how does he get the resources to do all this? There is no way the Arctic can provide everything the guy needs to produce so many toys. In any case, Santa's entire business model is terrible for other reasons as well. During the holidays is when the demand for presents is greatest, right? But if Santa's out there handing out gifts left and right, how the hell are domestic firms gonna compete with such low pricing? They can't. Santa's entire business is basically done by dumping low-cost gifts into the market to sustain his monopoly, effectively locking out all the competition. Now, normally I'm against protectionism and all that crap, but Santa's not exactly a reliable way to meet demand. He operates on his own schedule, and if at any point he suddenly gets a heart attack from all those cookies, there goes this year's round of presents. This reason alone should get you to second guess just how good Santa is for the world. Now, let's talk about Santa's ethical standards. This is a guy who uses his magic powers to watch every child in the world as they sleep. I don't know about you, but I think Santa's a pedophile. Besides, we know how good Santa's elves on shelves really are at their job. It doesn't seem like the quality and quantity of the gifts you receive actually have anything to do with how nice you are. I've never heard of anybody actually getting that lump of coal. See, this is what happens when you let some magical being nobody can communicate with unilaterally decide the difference between good and bad. With 2 billion children defiling this world of ours, there's just no way the guy could accurately assess how good each one is. Pretty sure Santa just gives the rich kids more and better presents instead. Fucking establishment hack. They say donating milk and cookies is a form of free speech, but we all know what's going on behind the scenes. At least he has enough sense to not put too many fossil fuels into people's hands. Alright, so we already went over how Santa Claus mistreats his elves, ruins the economy, is a plutocratic elitist, and probably shouldn't be trusted around kids. But none of that, and I mean nothing, compares to how he treats his reindeer. First of all, Rudolph's nose needs to be checked out right away. I guarantee you, it's a fucking tumor, making his life more miserable than it already was for being the runt of the pack. And just think about how much work each reindeer has to do. There's just 9 of them. Are you telling me that 9 reindeer are supposed to not only haul around Santa's disgusting body in a sleigh, but they're also supposed to deliver toys and coal to every single useless brat in the world, and all they get for it is a few carrots? How do the reindeer not die of exhaustion just making it to Canada? This cannot stand. The holidays are already a shitty time of the year, but can't even our fictional stories go 2 seconds without describing crimes punishable by death, prison, or at least an antitrust breakup? You know what? I'm normally against doing this sort of thing, but in this instance, I think the evidence is pretty clear. It's time to cancel Santa. His misdeeds have gone unpunished for far too long. And hey, if you guys want someone to look to for guidance as a symbol of virtue and righteousness, look to the Krampus. He's a pretty upstanding guy. I don't know what this episode is. I actually don't know what any episode ever is, but I'm sure I've done worse. Obviously, this episode isn't really meant to be taken seriously, but I do really hate Christmas. And of course, my actual criticisms of it should be pretty obvious from this video's content. In any case, remember that just because 2020 is ending doesn't mean things are arbitrarily gonna get better. So don't even bother making New Year's resolutions or any of that crap. You'll just end up disappointing yourself. I hear the Trump saga is gonna be renewed for another 4 seasons starting Inauguration Day, so I'll have plenty to keep myself entertained, I guess. Yay.
I'm and I approve this message.